let's talk about a potential return of Caitlin Clark. Maybe not a return of Caitlin Clark. We've got a WNBA legend, an all-time legend, that decided to put her 2 cents in.
Lisa Leslie, one of the greatest legends the WNBA has ever seen, just dropped a bomb on Caitlin Clark's future. Her exact words, "Don't come back." Yes, you heard that right. A Hall of Famer is telling the most electric rookie in league history to sit down, stay out, and protect her career, even as the Indiana Fever fight tooth and nail for a playoff spot. But here's the twist. Stephanie White, Clark's own head coach, is sending the exact opposite message, pushing the narrative that Clark could return before season's end.
She'll need to do ideally at least 5 of those before she can play. Talking about non-contact proportions of practice, she is yet to have a full practice. Scott Agnes. All right, I guess he's the one that asked this question. I don't know, probably the one that's got access, I'm sure. Talking about Caitlin Clark coming back, Stephanie White.
So now the question becomes, who's right? Do you protect Clark at all costs, or do you unleash her for a playoff push the Fever desperately need? Because if Lisa Leslie's warning comes true, Caitlin Clark's career might never be the same. Tonight, we're diving into every angle of this high-stakes debate, what Lisa Leslie really said about Clark's groin injury, and why her words carry more weight than most, Stephanie White's roadmap for Clark's return, and the risks that come with it, the Fever's playoff position, and why this decision could define not just their season, but the next decade of the WNBA.
Right now, the Fever sitting in playoff position. All right, after last night's victory, it should be noted over a old as hell Seattle Storm team. Let me just keep it real. But look, nonetheless, Seattle Storm would technically be in the playoffs right now. The Fever are now sitting alone in the 6th position.
And of course, the locker room tension nobody wants to talk about, how Caitlin Clark truly feels about playing under Stephanie White. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why this isn't just about one player. It's about the entire future of women's basketball. But first, I've got to hear from you. Do you agree with Lisa Leslie? Should Caitlin Clark shut it down and protect her long-term career? Or do you think she needs to get back on the floor and fight for the Fever's playoff run? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, and while you're at it, smash that like button, subscribe to Her Hoops, and turn on those notifications so you never miss the biggest stories shaking the WNBA.
I know a lot of you feel exactly the way she does. I see it every day, all day long on social media. The idea of, is it worth it to bring Caitlin Clark back? Should she come back? Should she come back and play for Stephanie White?
All right, let's lay this all out clearly, because this Caitlin Clark situation has turned into one of the most complicated injury debates the WNBA has seen in years. First, the Fever are hanging on to the 6th seed in the standings, right behind the powerhouse teams like the Aces and the Liberty. Without Clark, they've been okay. Not great, not terrible, but okay. Their record without her? 11 wins, 13 losses. Playoff material on paper, sure, but championship material? Not even close. And that's where the heart of this debate starts. Is a playoff push worth risking Clark's career? Because here's the reality. Caitlin Clark has already transformed the Fever and the WNBA. From sellout crowds in Indiana, to record-shattering TV ratings, to the Fever drawing more attention than some NBA teams, her impact is undeniable. This isn't just a rookie. This is the player people are calling the billion-dollar rookie.
All right, they would probably draw, I believe, the Aces, who have been on a damn tear. The Aces are 10-0 in their last 10 games, folks. Damn. By the way, in case you're wondering, the Fever 4-6. And I still cannot understand why our win-loss record is so bad at home.
But then, the injury happened. A deep groin strain. And for those who don't know, that's not some minor tweak you shake off after a week. Groin injuries are sneaky. They feel fine one day. Then one wrong cut, one awkward landing, and boom, you're back to square one. Even Stephanie White, who wants Clark back, admitted it. Clark has only participated in non-contact drills, no full practices yet. And White made it clear, Clark will need to get through at least 5 full practices before she can even consider game action.
Caitlin, able to go through your little walkthrough or whatever you normally do, and what do you want to see ultimately to get comfort whenever the time comes?
Yeah, she went through our walkthrough yesterday. Today it was very short, prior to to game time, but she went through it yesterday, and I want to see her in practice, live in practice.
Meanwhile, the Fever's schedule doesn't exactly make that easy. Practices get limited late in the season, travel ramps up, and playoff intensity only gets higher. Now add Lisa Leslie's perspective. She's not just talking as a Hall of Famer, she's talking as someone who lived through this injury herself. Lisa knows the danger. Her exact words, "That deep groin injury is nothing to play around with. It can feel healed until one wrong move puts you right back where you started." And that's the nightmare scenario. Clark rushes back, tweaks the injury in the playoffs, and suddenly we're not just talking about the rest of this season, we're talking about all of next year. So now the Fever are staring at the hardest choice in basketball: short-term survival versus long-term legacy. And here's the kicker: it's not just about health. This decision is tied directly to coaching, locker room trust, and even the future of Stephanie White's job. So here it is, the core problem. The Indiana Fever are stuck between two brutal realities. On one side, you have the immediate stakes. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever are a fringe playoff team. They can claw into the bracket, sure, but let's be honest, can they survive a first-round matchup against a fully loaded Las Vegas Aces squad? A team that's ripped off 10 straight wins and looks like a dynasty in the making? Probably not. The Fever without Clark, they're scrappy, but they're not scaring anyone in the postseason. And that's why so many fans are desperate for Clark to come back. They've tasted what she brings: the logo threes, the full-court vision, the swagger that electrifies arenas. With her, the Fever aren't just competitive, they're dangerous. But then comes the other side, the long-term cost. And this is where Lisa Leslie's warning hits hard, because groin injuries don't just nag, they can ruin careers. Ask any athlete who's dealt with it. It lingers, it resurfaces, it tricks you into thinking you're fine, until you explode off the dribble and feel that snap. Lisa Leslie herself put it bluntly: "I had this injury. One wrong cut and you're right back to zero." Now, add the pressure of Indiana's coaching situation. Stephanie White is in a tough spot. She's got a team finally sniffing the playoffs, and her superstar rookie is getting closer to full participation.
Now, enter in legend Lisa Leslie, because she is talking about Caitlin Clark shutting it down.
Of course, she wants Clark back on the floor. It validates her system. It gives the Fever a chance to shock the world. And let's be real, it strengthens her own job security. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody in Fever Nation wants to say out loud. Does Caitlin Clark even want to come back and play under Stephanie White right now? Because that's another layer to this mess. Fans have been whispering all season long that Clark's skill set doesn't fully mesh with White's system, that maybe the style, the rotations, the lack of adjustments, it's not maximizing her generational talent. So what's really at stake here? Not just one playoff run, not just Clark's groin. It's the trust between superstar and coach. It's the foundation of the Fever's future. If Clark rushes back, re-injures herself, and loses faith in this coaching staff, that could fracture this franchise from the inside out. And that's why the stakes are way bigger than one playoff push. Because if Indiana gambles wrong here, they could lose Caitlin Clark for a whole season, or worse, lose her confidence in the team forever.
You want to see Caitlin Clark for the longevity of her career? I'm just thinking, me personally, I would not put Caitlin Clark back on the floor this season. And the only reason why I say that is because I had the injury that she had. That deep groin injury is nothing to play around with. It can feel like you've never had it. You make one move, one cut, boom, she's back in the same spot.
All right, let's get real about the stakes here, because this decision isn't just a medical call, it's a franchise-defining gamble. If the Fever play it safe and shut Caitlin Clark down, what happens? Fans are disappointed, ratings dip slightly, the playoff run fizzles out quickly, maybe in a sweep. But you know what else happens? Clark walks into the offseason healthy. She comes back stronger in year 2, ready to build on what she started. That's the conservative long game play. Now let's flip it. If Clark comes back, the upside is undeniable. The Fever could shock a top seed, steal a game or two, maybe even make a Cinderella run. The arena sells out, national TV eats it up, the hype goes nuclear. But the downside? It's catastrophic, because if Clark re-aggravates this injury, especially in the playoffs, when every possession is more physical, every cut is sharper, every bump is harder, it's not just this season that's lost, it's possibly next season too. Imagine it, Caitlin Clark, the rookie who's been compared to Steph Curry for her shooting range, who's been compared to Sue Bird for her court vision, sidelined for an entire year. Do you know what that would do to the WNBA? It would be like Derrick Rose in the NBA playoffs back in 2012. He was supposed to be the league's next great superstar, MVP at 22. And then, one wrong move, one torn ligament. His career was never the same. That's the nightmare Lisa Leslie is warning about. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just any rookie. She's the economic engine of the WNBA right now.
I don't know that it's worth risking it. If they get the 8th spot and you get into the playoffs, is it really worth looking at Minnesota round 1? I don't know. That's just my opinion. What you think?
Man, I mean,
Okay, so you heard her. Right there. I would shut her down for the season.
The Fever have drawn over 600,000 fans this season. TV viewership records are shattered every time Clark steps on the court. The Nike deal? Historic. We're talking about the Air Jordan moment of women's basketball, and it's tied directly to her health. So, if you roll the dice and she gets hurt again, it's not just the Fever who lose, it's the entire league. And here's the kicker. Indiana doesn't even have the depth to justify the risk. Sophie Cunningham is hurt. Chloe Bibby is out. The bench is thin. So even if Clark does come back, is this team really built to go the distance? Or are they risking their star for a playoff cameo that ends in heartbreak anyway? This is what makes the decision so brutal. Play it safe and you lose now. Push too hard and you might lose everything later. And that's where rivals, outside pressure, and league politics come storming into the picture, because this isn't just Indiana's decision anymore. Here's where it gets even more complicated, because Caitlin Clark's return isn't happening in a vacuum. Every rival, every contender in the WNBA has skin in this game. Let's start with the Las Vegas Aces. They're the defending champs. They're 10-0 in their last 10, and right now, they're the team nobody wants to face. If Clark returns, Indiana's reward for sneaking into the playoffs could be a first-round collision with the Aces juggernaut. Aja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray. This squad is stacked, experienced, and locked in. You really want Caitlin Clark testing her groin against that level of defensive pressure. One hard hedge on a pick and roll, one bump fighting through a screen, and suddenly everything Lisa Leslie warned about becomes reality.
And you're like, oh, I've got it solved. And then 4 months later, boom, it's back like it never went away. Every time you think it's gone, it's back and it's nagging you. And I wasn't trying to run up and down a basketball court.
Even fans are torn. Half of them say, shut her down, think about the future. The other half scream, let her play. This is what legends are made of. And let's not forget, Caitlin herself is a competitor. She's wired to play. Sitting on the sideline burns her up. That instinct to prove she can carry the fever, that she can deliver on the hype, it's pulling against the medical red flags. So Indiana's options are really just two, and both are brutal. Shut Clark down and wave goodbye to playoff momentum. Bring her back and risk everything against the most loaded teams in the league. No easy answers, no middle ground, just pressure from rivals, from media, from within. And if you think the outside noise is loud, imagine what's happening inside the Fever's locker room, because that's where the real tension is boiling. All right, let's step inside the Fever's locker room, because this is where the decision about Caitlin Clark gets messy, personal, and raw. On the surface, the team is united. Everybody wants to win. Everybody respects Clark. But behind closed doors, there are layers. Think about the veterans. Players who've been grinding for years, waiting for a playoff shot. They see Caitlin Clark as their ticket. Their window isn't infinite. They want her back yesterday, even if it's risky. Then you've got the younger players, the ones still carving out their place in the league. Some of them are probably torn. Yes, they know Clark changes the game, but they're also aware. When she's on the floor, she dominates touches. She dominates the spotlight. Her return could mean fewer opportunities for them. That's real. That's human. And then there's Caitlin herself. Imagine being in her shoes. You're rehabbing every day. You're hearing Lisa Leslie, a legend you grew up admiring, tell the world you should shut it down. Meanwhile, your coach is saying, we just need 5 solid practices, then you're good to go. That's whiplash. Who do you trust? The Hall of Famer who's been where you are, or the coach whose job security might depend on whether you play? And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. The fit between Clark and Stephanie White has been questioned all season long. The style of play, the offensive system, even the rotations. Fans and analysts keep asking if this pairing really works. Option 1, she shuts it down. No return this season, no playoffs, no highlight reel comeback. The Fever limp into the postseason without their star. Maybe they steal a game. Maybe they get swept. The focus shifts to the offseason. Resting, reloading, maybe even rethinking the coaching staff. It's the safe play. It protects Clark's career, but it leaves a bitter taste for fans who waited all year for the payoff. Option 2, she comes back and thrives. Clark gets her 5 practices in, builds endurance, and when the playoffs arrive, she's electric. The Fever might not win the title, but suddenly they're a dangerous dark horse. Clark cements her reputation as a gamer. The WNBA cashes in with ratings, and the Fever prove they can hang with the big dogs. Option 3, the nightmare scenario. Clark rushes back, looks solid early, and then the groin flares up. Or worse, a major setback. Suddenly, not only are the Fever's playoff hopes gone, but Caitlin's 2025 season could be in jeopardy. This is the risk Lisa Leslie is warning about, and it's the scenario that haunts every fan, every coach, every executive. 3 paths, 3 radically different legacies, and the choice might come down to just one decision: play now or play later. And that brings us full circle to the biggest question of all, the one only Caitlin Clark and the Fever can answer, but one I want you to weigh in on. So here we are. The Indiana Fever sit at a crossroads. Caitlin Clark is inching closer to a return. The playoffs are within reach, and legends like Lisa Leslie are urging caution. The question is simple, but the answer could define not just this season, but the future of the entire franchise. Do you play her now and risk everything for a shot at postseason magic? Or do you hold her back, protect her long-term career, and accept that this year might not be the year? I want to hear from you. Should Caitlin Clark shut it down, or should she suit up for one more push? Drop your take in the comments below, because this is the debate that's going to define the WNBA's biggest storyline. And as always, if you love this kind of deep dive coverage, hit that like button, subscribe to Her Hoops, and make sure you don't miss the next breakdown. The clock is ticking. The Fever have to decide. And Caitlin Clark's legacy? It's hanging in the balance.